Former SEAL drops the MOAB on Don Lemon, reveals the real enemy of the people. CNN anchor Don Lemon last week called white men the biggest threat to the U.S. while speaking with CNN anchor Chris Cuomo about President Donald Trump and his supporters. So we have to stop demonizing people and realize the biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right, and we have to start doing something about them, said Lemon. His statement is as racist as it is contradictory. He first called on everyone to stop demonizing people, and the next thing he did is demonize white men. What's more, he had the audacity to call a part of a nation the biggest terror threat just because of their gender and skin color. He was lambasted for his remark by many, but one former U.S. Navy SEAL combat veteran managed to explain to Lemon and everyone who are supporting his statement why what he said is wrong on so many levels. Ephraim Matos wrote in a Facebook post, after surviving 3 wars, a gunshot wound, a near-fatal drowning, a failed parachute, Taliban ambushes, ISIS snipers, mortars, minefields, suicide bombers and laying down my life for the cause of freedom while fighting shoulder to shoulder with my brother Arabs, Asians, blacks, Hispanics, Christians, Muslims, Jews, Buddhists, animists, and atheists, I have now returned home to the USA where a CNN host has labeled me as a radicalized right-wing terrorist simply because of my gender and the color of my skin. Well, it has officially happened. So we have to stop demonizing people and realize the biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right, and we have to start doing something about them. Don Lemon on CNN October 31, 2018. After surviving 3 wars, a gunshot wound, a near-fatal drowning, a failed parachute, Taliban ambushes, ISIS snipers, mortars, minefields, suicide bombers and laying down my life for the cause of freedom W.H. Matos explained how those white men have fought in wars for this country, died for the freedom of others, rescued Europe from a disaster and faced fascism in World War I and again in World War II. We have fought for freedom and liberty for generations and we continue to do so today alongside all of our brothers and sisters regardless of their race or religion, wrote Matos. In the early 1930s, Hitler said the same thing about the Jews that Don Lemon of CNN just said about white men. This is the true face of the Democratic Party. First they enslaved and killed blacks, and now they use them to spew hatred and lies against the very people who have fought for generations to free them and uplift them, he continued. He then made it clear that he doesn't refer to himself as a white male but an American. I have referred to myself as a white male in the previous sentences multiple times, but I must make it clear that I identify as simply American, not as white or male or Republican. Although blatantly racist and hateful, do not let Don Lemon's ignorant words drive you into viewing yourself only by your race and religion, Matos added. Identity politics does not lead to freedom. It only leads to hatred and division and an us versus them mentality. If CNN does not fire Don Lemon immediately, it only goes to show that they are truly the enemy of the people, concluded Matos. Matos' post didn't go unnoticed on social media. Heavy checkmark Diamondansilk. Navy SEAL blows up internet with response to white men threat if CNN does not fire Don Lemon immediately. Heavy checkmark Ryanafornier. This is powerful. Former U.S. Navy SEAL demands CNN fire Don Lemon immediately in blistering letter. Nevertheless, CNN has done nothing with regard to Lemon's remarks. The left media keeps insisting that they are offended by being labeled as fake news, and that's quite understandable because it puts them in an unpleasant position. President Trump and his supporters also call them the enemy of the people, another label they don't appreciate. However, it's difficult to oppose Trump's words when such media calls a nation a terror threat just because of their skin color and gender.